Okay, picture this. You're an archaeologist, right? And you're out in Nasca, Peru, carefully excavating a site. And suddenly you stumble upon a humanoid skeleton all curled up like it's just taking a nap. But here's the twist. It only has 3 fingers on each hand.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right?
Oh.
So that's what happened with the specimen they've nicknamed Maria. She's about 5'3", and today we are going deep into a 2024 editorial from Revista Medica Panacea, that's a Peruvian medical journal, to try and untangle the whole mystery surrounding this 3-fingered skeleton.
And it's not just the number of fingers that's so strange. I mean, these medical professionals, they used X-ray CT scans, and what they found wasn't some like botched attempt at, changing a human skeleton. Maria's hands and feet, they actually have this really consistent natural morphology,
Morphology.
meaning like her bones and joints are all in harmony with this 3-fingered structure.
So it wasn't a hoax or someone messing with the bones like after death?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The researchers are very clear about they even went deeper into the structure of her hands using those CT scans to make 3D models. And get this, each of her fingers actually has 4 bones instead of the usual 3 that we humans have.
Wow.
It's like her entire skeletal structure is based on a totally different blueprint.
Okay, so we're already seeing some pretty big differences from human anatomy, but if she's not human, then what is she and how does she end up in Peru?
Well, those are the million-dollar questions, aren't they? And the researchers, they're calling for DNA analysis to try and get a clearer picture. But for now, let's look at another fascinating detail. They found Maria's heel bone, the calcaneus, it's rounded.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have that usual prominence that we see in human heel bones.
So you couldn't wear, like, your favorite sneakers with a heel. Like, that, it changes everything about how she would have walked and balanced. How do you think this affected her life?
Yeah, for sure. The researchers think that this different heel structure means Maria couldn't have walked upright like we do. She probably moved with more of a forward lean, possibly even using her 3-fingered feet for, like, grasping and stability. They even point out that in the scans, her toes look permanently flexed, almost like clawed toes, which kind of supports that theory.
So are we talking about a being that was more adapted to climbing or moving through thick vegetation, maybe?
It's definitely possible.
Yeah.
It makes me think of all those sci-fi stories about hidden civilizations. It feels like we're on the edge of discovering something truly groundbreaking, but this time it's based on real scientific evidence.
It really makes you wonder if there's a connection to some of those ancient myths and legends about strange creatures.
And that's where things get even more interesting. This isn't the only evidence of 3-fingered beings in ancient Peru. The researchers point out how much tridactyl imagery there is in pre-Columbian cultures all over the region.
Tridactyl imagery meaning?
Those famous Nasca lines, well, a lot of the figures there. And in other artwork from the area, they have 3 fingers, and we're not just talking about Peru either. You find similar depictions in ancient art from Mexico, Ecuador, other parts of Central and South America too.
So it's a pretty widespread artistic motif across multiple cultures. What are the chances that this could really shake up our understanding of history?
If you ask me, the chances are pretty high. I mean, think about it. We've got a humanoid skeleton with unique anatomical features, and those same features are echoed in the art of different ancient cultures over a massive geographical area. It's hard to ignore the potential connection between these ancient depictions and the physical evidence we're seeing in Maria's remains.
Okay, so we have the physical evidence, we have the artistic representations, but how solid is the science behind all of this?
Well, the analysis was done using some pretty advanced imaging technology, and the findings were published in a reputable medical journal. So that means they've been peer-reviewed by other experts in the field.
That's a good point. It definitely adds some weight to the whole thing, but I still have so many questions.
Me too. And that's the beauty of scientific discovery, isn't it? It always raises more questions than it answers, pushing us to dig deeper and explore further. It really makes you think, if these depictions weren't just some artistic choice, what was life actually like for a being like Maria?
Right, we've talked about that rounded heel bone and how it would have changed the way she walked, but what about like other everyday stuff? Can you imagine trying to open a jar or tie your shoes with 3 fingers?
Yeah, it really challenges us to think outside our own human-centered perspective. Like tool use, for example. Could Maria's people have developed tools that were specifically adapted to their 3-fingered grip? I mean, the researchers didn't mention finding any tools alongside her remains, but it makes you wonder what archaeologists might find in future digs.
And what about their social structures? I mean, could those longer fingers with that extra bone have given them a wider range of motion or dexterity, maybe even influencing their communication or artistic expression?
Those are really interesting questions. Unfortunately, the editorial mainly focuses on the anatomical analysis, and it doesn't really go into those social aspects too much.
Yeah, I guess those are mysteries that we'll have to wait for more research to uncover. Speaking of research, what about that DNA analysis you mentioned before? What are scientists hoping to find?
DNA analysis, that's really the key to unlocking Maria's secrets. It could actually confirm whether she represents a completely separate species.
Hmm.
Can you imagine the impact if her DNA turns out to be significantly different from anything we've ever seen before?
It would be like rewriting the textbooks.
It would totally change everything we thought we knew about human evolution.
It would be proof that we weren't alone, at least not on this planet. But even if her DNA shows some similarities to human DNA, wouldn't that still be a huge discovery?
Oh, absolutely. It could point to a previously unknown branch of the hominid family tree, maybe even a species that interbred with our own ancestors that would open up a whole new chapter in human history. We'd have to rethink our entire understanding of where we come from.
It's crazy to think that we could be so closely related to a species that looks so different from us. It really shows the incredible diversity of life, both past and present.
And don't forget the editorial mentioned that there are other unusual things about Maria's anatomy that the researchers are going to describe in more detail in future reports. They specifically mentioned differences in her head, arms, forearms, even her spine.
Wow, so there's even more to this story than we initially thought.
Exactly. We're just scratching the surface here. Each new piece of information has the potential to rewrite textbooks and change our understanding of what it means to be human. It might even challenge our whole definition of what it means to be intelligent life in the universe.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the physical evidence, the artistic connections, the potential for DNA analysis, and the broader implications of this discovery. But let's take a step back for a second and think about this. Why should our listeners care about a three-fingered mummy found in Peru?
Because it makes us question everything we thought we knew. It reminds us that the world is full of mysteries, and there's so much we don't understand. It forces us to confront our own biases and be open to the possibility that the universe is far more complex and wondrous than we ever imagined.
It's a good reminder that the pursuit of knowledge is a never-ending journey, and that every new discovery has the power to change the way we see ourselves and our place in the cosmos.
And who knows what other incredible discoveries are just waiting to be found. Maria's story is just one example of the countless secrets that are hidden out there, just waiting for curious minds to uncover them.
Yeah, it's like they say, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. But how do we even begin to wrap our heads around a discovery like this? I mean, where do we go from here?
Well, that's the exciting part. Maria's discovery, it opens up all these new avenues for research. We've talked about DNA analysis and further anatomical studies. But think about archaeology.
Yeah.
What if researchers start looking at existing dig sites with a fresh perspective? Considering the possibility of another intelligent species being there.
Yeah.
Could we find tools, structures, maybe even entire settlements that we just overlooked before, or maybe misinterpreted because we weren't thinking about this possibility?
And what about all those artistic depictions we were talking about earlier? The Nazca lines, the sculptures, the ceramics. Could there be hidden messages or symbols in those artworks that we haven't been able to figure out because we were looking at them from a purely human perspective?
It's a really interesting thought. It's almost like we have this huge library of ancient knowledge right in front of us, but we've been missing the key to understanding it.
It's funny. I was reading this sci-fi book recently, and in it, humans discovered this alien civilization, but the aliens communicated through these really complex patterns of light and sound. And at first, we just thought it was like natural phenomena. It makes you wonder if we could be doing the same thing with these ancient artifacts.
Exactly. We need to be open to the idea that intelligence could show up in ways we haven't even thought of, and Maria might just be the key to unlocking those possibilities.
And speaking of possibilities, think about what this means for the search for extraterrestrial life. I mean, if we can find evidence of another intelligent species right here on our own planet, it makes the idea of finding life out there in the universe a lot more likely, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It really broadens our definition of what's possible. It pushes us to think beyond our own limited experiences and consider that there could be this vast diversity of life out there in the cosmos.
So Maria has the potential to totally change our understanding of history, biology, archaeology, maybe even astrophysics. But for our listener, what does this all really mean? Why should they care about this three-fingered mummy found in Peru?
It's a good reminder that we're all part of something much bigger, a story that's still being written. It's a call to embrace curiosity, to question everything, and to be open to the amazing things that are still out there waiting to be discovered.
It reminds us that the world is full of mystery and wonder, and that the search for knowledge never really ends, and who knows what other incredible discoveries are just waiting around the corner.
Well, we'll definitely be keeping an eye out for any new developments in this incredible story, and we'll be sure to share them with you right here on the Deep Dive. In the meantime, if you want to learn more about this, the Revista Medica Panacea editorial has a bunch of sources you can check out. We'll put those links in the show notes for this episode.
So as you go about your day, just think about this. If another intelligent species did walk this earth, what kind of traces might they have left behind? What secrets are still out there waiting to be uncovered?
Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep. You never know what you might find.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey. Until next time, keep those minds curious.